morning and welcome to the Solution Finders. Today I'm here with Brian Bibi, award-winning brand designer turned entrepreneur, kids author, mindfulness mentor, and performance coach. Hi,
All right.
Brian.
Hey, hi, Una. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
I'm good, and you?
Yeah, I'm absolutely fantastic. Fantastic.
So yeah, there's lots of things you did when you're doing.
Well, yeah, I like to still think I'm young at heart, right? So we got nice young energy, but there's a ton of experience as well.
Yeah, and how was it to work in corporate as a brand designer?
Well, yeah, that's the funny part because right out of university, I got my bachelor's in graphic design. I went to Chicago and worked at one of the top two brand design, graphic design studios, well, companies in the city, right? And so they sat me down for the first day and said, "Here, you're going to make a swatch." Right. And so that was, it's like a big brand in the late 90s, early 2000s, right? And so I worked on that one. And within like 3 months, you walk down to the Michigan Ave and the Hancock building, and boom, like there's your watch. It's like, whoa, this is crazy, right? And then we were working on stuff like Oprah and ABC and Sony and IBM and uh, um, yeah, there was a ton of work going on in the office between there was five, six of us. Yeah, there was six designers and then a creative director and um, yeah, another partner in the company. And we were doing a lot of corporate work. And yeah, there was like over time, I worked there for 4 years and then I went over to Amsterdam and worked for a couple years at another design firm. And we were doing big companies over here, like the train companies and banks and right, credit cards and that kind of thing. And then went to the, let's say, one of the best design companies of the entire continent over here, if not say like top 10 in the world, right? And I was there for about 4 years and yeah, with 2 years in between. So it's about 10 years total in corporate. And yeah, over time, I saw myself getting a ton of really great experience, right? Yet I was having more energy being drained than replenished, right? I was having a lot of unhealthy patterns of overworking and not really respecting my body in the process, right? It's just like, hey, take a seat, let's work, and then go for 14, 15 hours. Like, let's go, right? Because I really enjoy being in the flow. Like that's a wonderful place to be. It's like I can even jump out of time and you look up and 3 hours have passed, but it only feels like 20 minutes, right? You're like stepping outside of time. And, when I was younger, I would keep a food drawer next to my desk that's just full of like cookies and like processed food so I could just stuff my face and keep going, right? And yeah, so not having a really healthy balance around other aspects of my life, exercise, relationships, social, that kind of thing. I've been so focused on that one dimension of raw, let's, work. And in the States, that is one of the main drivers, right? It's like your career and go and right. We're in competition with everything over there, right? And it starts when you're little with your siblings, and then you grow up with sports, and then when you get into more family life, it's like, hey, the neighbors got that car, we we need that car, and
Wow.
right. So, yeah, those are some of the lessons that I had to really learn along the way. Um, so, not to neglect those different aspects of life because I'm being asked for a whole lot and I want to perform and do well. And I was winning awards and being published. And yet I was really only growing in that one main aspect, like career, right? So yeah, a lot of lessons along the way. So well, that was the thing. I was really focused on the career, and so a big relationship failed because of it. And she was saying that I wasn't there for her because I'm always working. So there was a really good lesson. It's like, okay, I have to really look at this. Um, because at work, let's say at that last 4 years in corporate, they were calling me the rock, right? And I loved it because they could lean on me at any time with anything and I would produce. It didn't matter if it was what it was, they could always count on me to make sure that this thing gets done, right? And yet when there was a new creative director that came in and that started to be abused a bit, right? Um, and there are certain characters that come in your life for certain reasons, certain lessons need to be learned. So this was, let's say, the chaos maker, right? That was supposed to create chaos in my life, really. And so, like, one example is at the end of the day, the night before a presentation, we've got two directions going to be presented to the client the next morning, and it's 4:30. Creative director puts on his jacket, starts to walk out, goes past my desk and says, "Hey, Brian, that second direction, we can't do anything with it. We're not going to present it. You need to do something totally different and have it ready for the morning. Goodbye." And he walks out. And so that's chaos. You know what I mean? It's like there's no direction. It's like, what do I do? What do you mean? Like what's wrong with it? It's brilliant. I love it. We love it. The design team loves it. But he's like, nope, not gonna do it. So yeah, right. And then right, so I would have to stay. Everybody's gone, and I'm there at 8:30 at night trying to make up, like pull something out that's just magic. And yeah, so yeah, there was one last straw in that in that decision or in that like epiphany that I can't do this anymore, right? And there was one project that was incredibly famous across the entire Netherlands. It was for I believe it was for um, the post office, right? And it's like the post office of the whole entire country. And there was 4 or 5 different, I think there was 10 design firms that were pitching for it. And then we got down to the top three and there was another designer and I and the director. And at the end, the full presentation went out and but it came back that the project went somewhere else when we were really like the shoe-in or the leading team that's gonna get this project. And the creative director came back and said it was a company accident, right? So he was taking absolutely no responsibility for the team or what was produced. And I go, well, I can't work under someone like that, right? And then that opened up my eyes to see that the rest of the team was quitting. And so there was 5, 6 of us, and I was the last one to go.
Okay.
And then I look up and everybody else is gone. Like everyone else quit over the course of like 2, 3 months. So, so yeah, there were some good lessons about balance in there and also taking responsibility and time management as well.
Yeah, that reminds me, I used to work as a video games tester. And we had some days where we were asked to work at night. And I remember I did my, I just continued through the night, and I ended up going back home when everybody was going to work and I was going back home in the morning. But really, the way they were treating us, they were not saying like we're going to pay you more because you worked at night. They will say, we are going to offer you pizza, so they will get us, the kind of fast food pizza and
Right.
treats. I was like, oh, this is not professional. Uh,
Right.
but that's one of the things that can happen in corporate.
Right. Right. Yeah, that happened to me a few times as well. In Chicago, we had annual report season. And so, the office would get really busy. And these are very detailed documents. And, they're like reports, 50, 60 pages. And the accountants were involved because the last 20 pages are just full of numbers and there's corrections that come through and it has to be done on a certain date for the government, right? And so I found myself a couple times sleeping under the desk. Right. And, I remember that my view was amazing, right? It was all windows. I was in a corner of a building and it's just all windows. So it's beautiful, right? And I'm looking at the Sears Tower this way and the Hancock building this way and look, right? But I'm sleeping under the desk tonight. You know, it's like that was one of the really good clues that, hey, man, you've got to do something a little different because they're not paying you more
Yeah.
for all the effort, right?
So, what happened when you quit?
Right. Well, the place that I worked at the end of my corporate days it's an amazing place, right? And so they had a big party and right, it was everyone wore t-shirts like with different sayings on it that they thought uh, that they understood who I was like through their experience. So, just different catchphrases and things and right? Because I worked there for 4 years. So I had a really great relationship with a lot of different people. And yeah, it came as a bit of a shock. So that 1 month notice, hey, I'm out.
Okay.
And yeah, looking back on it, there was no other thing to do in that position to make sure that I'm, really respecting myself and being healthy as well. Yet, yeah, most likely I could have communicated um, some of the real details of what was going on better. And maybe there could have been a change. Yet, um, yeah, the healthiest thing for me was to go. And yeah, no one stood in my way or anything, right? They were just really grateful for the time that I had spent there. And yeah, it was a really lovely bunch of people.
Yeah, that's the like I quit a few jobs, and especially one job, it was in a shop, and there was lots of competition with the others because there was some kind of payoff if you get more clients than the others. So actually, we were kind of starting to be a little bit nasty to each other because of that. Like that was my client. You took my client. And actually, when I decided to quit, I stopped doing that game totally. And I seen that all the people stopped as well. It became more, and we were all super friendly. And I thought, okay, it was just that policy. It was just that policy. They got us to try to have more sales. That actually was just getting us against each other and not. And it wasn't good for the shop neither because actually just a few months after I left, the shop was closed. It's not there anymore.
Wow.
So it wasn't working because it was too much sales, 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 and not taking care of the people.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that is really changing
Yeah.
in today's younger economy. right? And all the younger workers there. There are some companies that are coming out that have, that balance better.
Yeah,
And I think it was Google was one of the first ones because they were trying to attract, and this was probably 20 years ago, right? Trying to attract all the greatest talent. So they say, hey, we're giving you breaks and here's a pool table and a ping pong table. And now it's, they have a full-on campus and, right, mental health coaches and that kind of thing.
yeah,
So hopefully it's getting better.
yeah. I guess it's the awareness of people as well that they don't they know more that they can find something better and they can yeah, I guess the previous generations they would not quit the job, but the generations now they if they don't like it they quit. So
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Our parents kind of grew up with a stay in one job your whole life, and that's what you do. And yeah, I'm a bit of the bridge, Gen X. So it's like, okay, we're, finding the best place, right? Yet, yeah, the younger generation, they're not they're not into staying in bad situations long. And it's like, no, I'm out. It's like that's it. Next, I'll find something else,
yeah.
right?
I've seen it with the lockdown. There were all those jobs like McDonald's, like fast food jobs and things like that. And lots of these shops closed because there was no people were quitting.
Right.
And so it was really a situation in which they were saying, no, we don't accept these conditions of work, and and it would close the whole shop because they didn't have enough
Wow.
people.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's something that's really becoming apparent of the value of the people. If you want a sustainable team, a team that really will stick around, you've got to take care of them,
yeah,
right? And so that's an idea, a concept that's being more introduced. And I'm seeing that in the coaching field as well around executives and emotional intelligence, right? So the there's a bit of transition there with executives learning more about how to connect with their subordinates or their teams and yeah, really respecting them and not just promising the world and dumping it all, right? And not caring for the the well-being. So yeah, I'm pretty optimistic about the changes happening yet. I've been freelancing for about 12, 14 years, something like that. So yeah, I've been out of it for a while.
and how did it change for you? Is it like more freedom, more health?
Well, that took a while to actually see some of those habits, those unhealthy habits, and then begin to change them. Yet there, let's say I believe it was 2012. Yeah, 2012, I went freelance. And right away, I was at home on my iMac. Right? It's like, there's my big iMac. Okay, now I'm working at home. And so there was a lot to learn about time management and energy management, really, right? Because you didn't have that commute anymore.
Yeah,
And so yeah, also about taking breaks and integrating your personal life and your professional life because I can do the laundry in between the project, or I can make a sandwich, or I can, right, or walk the pets or whatever. So, yeah, there's a lot of learning. There's a learning curve for that as well as an entrepreneur. Yet, that, like you said, the freedom that's there is amazing. And the ceiling, the cap gets removed on the amount of money that you can make as
Mm.
well, right? Because you're out of that salary and you're into, I can make as much as I want, right? And yeah, it was pretty funny because when I was like after my Chicago experience of 4 years, I took um well, like a couple years off and I was just traveling, right, around Southeast Asia and around Europe and I figured out that I didn't want to work so much, right? Because Chicago was just like work, 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 right? And so I thought, okay, if I come up with some products that are selling online, then that can bring in passive income and then I don't have to work as much or I don't have to work at all. I'm like, that's a good idea, right? So
Yeah.
that was when I think it was like 23 or 24 or something like that. I'm like, that's a good idea. So so yeah, that's when the kids book started and now there's like 25 kids books that are out on Amazon and yeah, lots of digital products on like stock imagery sites, stock
Mm.
illustration sites. Um, yeah, so there's a lot of things working in the background so that I don't have to work as much, right? It's smarter versus harder.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
It's kind of passive income that is continuous. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. Then you're really getting that full evolution of your creativity. Or at least that's how I've experienced it. And so, yeah, transitioning from a full-time designer into entrepreneur, which means I can use design to create different products. And then from there, I had been freelancing for about 10 years and really seen that I had been mentoring clients the entire time, right? Because I'm launching, supporting the clients to launch their businesses. And so we'd go through a process of strategy, branding, and then implementation, usually websites. And then, here's the keys next, right?
Yeah.
And there was usually a gap between where they wanted to be in this big vision of who they saw themselves as running this business and where they were. And so I'd be coaching them throughout the process. Then at the end, they'd be at that desired point and then launch the business. So it took me all that time to really understand that, okay, there's something called a coach outside of sports. So I go,
Yeah.
okay, well, that was a few years ago. So I went and got some certifications and so now I've transitioned into more of a, let's say, full-time coaching and mentoring. And so now I'm again using the design of websites and presentations and um, yeah, master classes, that type of thing to create those digital products that can go online. And then, it's creating magic money, right? So I wake up and there's more money, right? But I was sleeping and it was in a shop and it's just making money while you sleep. That's kind of the point, right? Right. So,
Yeah. It's
so
good.
so yeah, it's been an interesting ride.
Magic.
Yeah, yeah, the magic money. I definitely recommend that for anybody. But then you're on more of a promotional um, trajectory, really, right? Because you can make all these amazing things, yet if no one knows about them, then
You know,
so
Mariam.
you have to really get uh, wear all these different hats as an entrepreneur, right? When you're in corporate, you're sitting there as one certain role in a team, and you don't have to worry about getting clients in. The work is always there. It's just, oh, here comes the next one, right? It's just conveyor belt. But now you're running all those different positions, and you can't get so deep into like just one aspects of the business because let's say you have to keep the funnel full with new clients, new client conversations, acquisitions, and then promotion about the projects at the end besides doing the work. So, so yeah, there's been quite a big learning curve around that as well.
And do you like to give some of the work to someone else, like having someone working with you or for you, or do you do all yourself?
That really took me some time to get away from that perfectionist, right? I need to do everything myself, right? That solopreneur into more of, someone that runs a business, right? So having a few designers that I can utilize to, um, keep those client relationships healthy, but then not actually have to do the actual work, the fulfillment of the design work. That's a gift to have, right? To be able to delegate some of that work. So yeah, it's evolved more into that now because I love spending my time on calls, talking to people and doing the coaching and mentoring work versus uh, yeah, a very time consuming design work, right? Because it will take 3, 4, 5 hours in a nice big design session to really get out some of this really great work. Yet my body's asking me not to sit so much anymore. It's like, Brian, get up. I'm like, all right, right. It's like, go take a break. And that's the fun thing about coaching is that I can have an hour conversation and then I can go out and take a walk. And then there could be, just take a break and then come in and have another call. And you can still get into that flow, yet it doesn't have to be I'm only sitting. So, so yeah,
Yeah, you kind of found your flow uh, in work.
right. Yeah, it's a different sort of flow conversation. But yeah, whenever I am doing some design work, I make sure that every 17 minutes I get up and I stretch and I'll either do some push-ups or I'll do some mountain climbers or pull-ups or just take a good couple minutes and just get the body moving, right? So that we're not sedentary and sitting and sitting and sitting, right? That's not healthy for the body either.
Yeah, that's a good practice. And yeah, in corporate jobs, sometimes it's just sitting all day, and then you go to the kitchen, someone brings donuts.
Right, right. Well,
You're in
yeah,
this
I
kind of
thought about
situation.
how crazy it would be if I would be working in corporate right now with the activities that I do during my design practice, because I would literally get up from my seat and just do 35 push-ups. Like, let's go, right? And then like do 30 mountain climbers. So I'm like this, right? Going like this, like rah, right? And just doing mountain climbers like what is this guy doing? And then you sit back down, right? And then you keep going for another 17 minutes. Right. Yeah, it would look so funny.
I think I see some of that when I was in corporate. Like some of the colleagues were really into sport, but they would come to work in bicycle, like 1 hour bicycle ride or even
Right,
more,
right,
twice a day, all the commute in bicycle.
right.
Um, yeah, and actually we would have yoga classes at work. I
Oh,
had a
nice.
like a like a gym space. Yeah, they did a gym space. So that was my favorite thing at the end, just the yoga and things outside of work. So yeah, I decided it was time to go because if I enjoyed only that, there was some problem.
Right, right.
And how did you discover meditation?
That is a good question. Let's see. So in between Chicago and Amsterdam, right? I went around traveling for a bit, and that was a good, yeah, I think it was a good couple years. And I found myself in Southeast Asia for about 7 months. And that was my first introduction to meditation, right? I flew into Bangkok, and before I knew it, I was in a temple, and like now there's some monks, and I'm going like, what is this all about? Right? I think I was 25. And so, yeah, after spending some good time in the different temples around Southeast Asia, right? I was working on a kid's book that was all about travel, the Explore book series, right? Teaching kids about the world while having fun. And now there's 8 different books of those, and yeah, they're really good time. And those are on Amazon. And so I was developing that second book and going on the tour through the what, like 9 different countries. And so I got to see a whole lot in that time. And I was spending a lot of time in the temples. And then I started meditating and well, talking to the monks, asking them about their practice. Why are they doing this? What is the point? What's what's the drive, the purpose, their why? And I saw a lot. There was something that just really resonated with me. And so I started meditating on a daily practice ever since. And that's been a good 21 years, right? And yeah, so lots of wild epiphanies and that have happened along the way, around expanding consciousness, but um, as well, just like there's a very low level of stress. There's not much stress at all, right? Because you're working through that in meditation every day. And yeah, I don't have anxiety. Like my mind is still, it's quiet. Like how I like to think about it now is let's say there's this monk or right, this Buddha um, that's floating above this lake, right? This like, and it's just kind of floating above the water, and the water is still like glass, right? And the shore is really, really far away now, and there might be some activity on the shore, right? And sometimes it gets busy out there, but it's far away. There's like this buffer of space. It's just serene. And so the water is crystal clear and I can see all the way down, right? It's just like an empty, beautiful, calm space. But sometimes on the shore, there's a hurricane, right? Of like
Mhm.
just chaos, but it's not here. You know what I mean? It's not like this. It's like way, way far away now, right? You've got that nice calm space. So yeah, my mind is quite empty throughout the day. And it's because of that daily meditative practice to get my mind to just sit and be and watch instead of thinking all the time and doing
Yeah,
this and looking at that and judging that and who's doing that and I want that and right, all that like monkeys, like the monkeys running around.
yeah.
So it's it's been really, really healthy for my health and well-being.
And
I
are
highly
you
recommend it.
meditating like a certain amount of time every day? Um,
Well, it's part of my morning routine. Like I have a morning protocol and an evening protocol. They're kind of like the bookends, right? Now we're in the coaching world, right? So I really combine my, let's say, the latest science with the ancient wisdom to bring about really great practices for overall health and well-being, right? To optimize all the different aspects of life. So studies show that we have the most control over the beginning and the end of our days,
mhm.
right? And usually this is some sort of obligation, right? I have to do this or I need to do that. But the mornings and the evenings are really for us. So I have a morning protocol that I run, and it's like on autopilot every day. So There's what, five, six different things that I do. I meditate, then I do yoga. I have some water. I go for a walk. I work out, and then I have a cold shower. And I do that every day, right? And it's just on autopilot. So I meditate for about an hour or so. Sometimes it's 2 hours, because it's the first thing I do when I wake up besides smile. It's like, that's really the first thing I do. It's like, I'm grateful for being back. It's like, oh man, another day. Here we go. Let's go. Right. So I'll smile, right? Because I know from the neuroscience research that I've done that I can get those happy chemicals running from my brain automatically first thing in the morning just by smiling. It's like you can get those happy chemicals anytime you want, just smile and here it comes, right? So so yeah, usually recommend about 15 minutes of meditation in the morning, but I like to go really deep and so I'll meditate for about an hour. And then from there, it's what, maybe 5, 6 minutes of meditation, maybe 10 minutes, or sorry, of yoga, and then go out for a walk, right? This is to really get the blood flowing and be out in nature, right? Get the heart moving, right? Get the blood flowing, and then come and have some water, do a good workout for, let's say, 15 minutes. Or I would space it out during like a design session, like creative session. So every 17 minutes, get a workout in.
Mm.
So I make sure I'm getting those 100 push-ups, those 100, 30 pull-ups, 100 sit-ups, right? Or I'll do it all in in one big block. And then I'm warm. I'm really warm. So then I hop in a cold shower to just cool off my body. And that is really, really good for your immune system, right? Because it releases all these shock proteins that are your immune system, right? So, so yeah. Now it's just not meditation in the morning. There's a full morning protocol
Yeah.
that I stick to.
And when you meditate, it's just like in silence, or do you listen to music or something?
Let's see. I've worked through, yeah, so 21 years of meditating, I've tried a whole bunch of different ones. And usually in that journey, you'll find one that works for you. And then it's time to really go deep into that one. And you might change things up and try something different. And yeah, I had been doing a different sort of meditation after going to the Himalayas. I was there for 3 weeks a couple years ago, like meditating in the clouds, like really above the clouds.
Oh,
It was so quiet and serene, and there was a guru there that I was with for like 3 weeks, and right, I was getting my meditation teacher certificate, and so there was 4 or 5 of us in the class, and we had the guru teacher, and we all had a lot of fun together, and so there was a certain meditation that I was doing from that like Hindu lineage. And, there's like 4 or 5 different ones, and it has to do with some pranayama breathing as well, which is really, really good for the body, right? To either wake it up or calm it down, like breathing practices. So I would highly recommend that. Yet on the daily, I'm doing a 6 stage meditation that I learned from Mindvalley
okay.
years ago, right? It was Vishan's 6 stage meditation. So the 6 stages are fairly simple, and you can run through the whole thing in 15 minutes, right? Yeah, but I like to really take my time at each stage and really work through it. Are you familiar with the 6 stage meditation?
No.
Okay. Uh, yeah, just really quickly, it's the first is to connect as above, so below, right? Like connect to the light, right? So just with the understanding that I'm not my body, I'm the soul that's inhabiting the body, right? This is a vessel. It's like the vehicle that I'm driving, right? And so you connect to the light, and then the second stage is you're grateful for three, four, five different things from the past 24 hours. And not just working with the mind, but really feeling it in the body, feeling those moments, right? So, because the mind doesn't know the difference between something that's happened 20 years ago and something happening now, it's going to send those same chemicals that are connected with that experience. So, you're adding a lot of those happy, those dopamine, serotonin chemicals in right in the morning, right? It's the smile, it's the gratefulness. And then the third stage is forgiveness. So I forgive anyone or including myself for anything over the past 24 hours. So I'd bring that person right in front of me, and whatever happened, I would forgive them and then witness them forgiving me. And it's like this beautiful letting go process and neutralizing any negative energy, right? Forgiveness is a wonderful tool in the emotional toolbox, right? And then from there, it's visualize your day, and then visualize what 3 years from now, and yeah, so that's five, right? And so you're going through the entire day in the fourth stage. You're going through your entire day and visualizing and feeling through the moments how you want them to happen, right? So you're actually beginning to manifest that into your life. And that's, you ask any of these Olympic and like world-class athletes, they always do that first. They win first in their mind, and then they go out, and then that's what they do because they've built themselves up doing that. So there's lots of good science behind that. And so, yeah, I run through my day from getting up to going back to bed, and I run through the entire day. That's why, I take a little longer because I like to really feel into the moments. And then I will look into the life that I'm wanting to build 3 years from now and who I am in that life, and I will feel through that. And then finally, the sixth stage is to simply sit in those happy feelings, those incredible energy that you've built, right, for just a few minutes. But and not be thinking anything. It's like be in the space between the thoughts, and I like to hang out in that space, right? And that was part of the Hindu way of meditating as well.
Yeah.
So I get into that silent area, and then there's samadhi, like the beautiful place in there.
Oh, nice. And so you learned about it when you were in the middle of the corporate jobs. And did you go back to the corporate, like, did you use it a little bit when you were back to corporate, or did you kind of forget for a while and then you started the practice later?
Uh, yeah. So yeah, in the middle of corporate, yeah, I took a couple years off and learned to meditate, and then ended up in Amsterdam. And then there was another 6 years of corporate. So yeah, there was a little bit of time in there, right around when my son was born, that I stopped meditating altogether because something freaked me out. Right? I had a real big visualization, like a vision that came in, and it freaked me out. And so I stopped meditating for a while. But yeah. Mm. Yeah, because the funny thing is I have an amazing imagination. Yes, it's just full. And I can see the images as well, those visions when I close my eyes.
Mhm.
So, um, yes, we can go anywhere we want in our imagination. There's unlimited expansiveness there that we can tune into. So we can see anything and go anywhere and do anything. right? And so, yeah, I was meditating daily through that corporate experience, and that was really supportive, really, really supportive.
That's good. I have lots of visions during the meditations. I think in the past it was a little bit more. Now it's more kind of feelings. Um, but yeah, I had a lot, and I wrote them down and um, artworks. Uh, and one was crazy. Was like being inside a piece of gold. Was like everybody everywhere I would see gold everywhere. Like being inside gold, but like being like air is gold. And I asked, and they answered. Like I asked, what is it? And they answered, it's love. And actually, I did an artwork after that with all the golden background, and it was like amazing feeling, but super weird because it was like being in something that I think is solid. So,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
quite a lot.
Yeah, that is the main energy that I am really resonating with nowadays. It's like meditation allows you to reflect on the experiences and how you reacted or responded in those moments, right? And then really clear out some of the debris about who you think you are. So you can get back to the core of who you really are and really discover, remember who you really are. So yeah, all of my meditation have led me back to joy and bliss and love. Right? It's like love is what makes all of this possible. And then its expression is that of bliss. And it comes out as joy. It comes out as celebration and gratefulness. And that's like the road back home, right? Being grateful, being joyful, celebrating no matter what is going on around you,
Yeah,
right? We can tune into a lot of different minds as well, right? So there was something that came through for me one day, and it said, uh, I I do not allow anything in the external to upset my internal state. And once I heard that, when I go, well, that's I can be whatever I want in any moment, right? No matter the external circumstances. So I can be joyful if I want to, right? And there's tons of freedom and empowerment and yeah, there's a bit of mastery in there too, you know. So yeah, now yeah, and with more meditative experiences and going to different different places and different states of being, now I'm just being joyful, right? And loving. That's the point.
yeah. And I love it when I see people like they are like kind of these masters of meditations and some kind of cultures. For example, I seen the Dalai Lama in a video, and he was doing jokes about farts.
Oh, right,
I
right, right,
was
right.
laughing. I was like a 4 year old kid, and I thought that's it. That's the same as my children, but that's the work. You go back there because that's the joy. That's
Right,
it.
right. Yeah, it's when we were kids, right? Yeah, getting rid of all that seriousness and all that, that heavy relationships and experiences and just letting it go, like not forgetting, right? We're taking the lessons, using the lessons from those, but just clearing it out so that we can be who we truly are. And for me, that's joy. So, yeah, it's having the inner child just happy and running around.
Yeah. And I see it with my kids. It's so nice because like now I'm meditating morning and evening, and
Yeah, good.
sometimes I do feel thanks. And sometimes I do feel like a little bit that's stuff that I have to overcome. So I don't feel super well during the day. But my meter is my children, and like they are happy anyway. So like
Right,
okay, they are laughing, so it means that the meditation went well today because it
right,
kind of goes to there. They feel the energy, and even when they really hang out around me, I'm like, okay, I'm in a good place because they are coming here. They want to stay in that energy. They want to
right.
feel it more, I think, as well. So they are more near me.
Yeah, they're a good meter, like you said.
Yeah, and then the same with the other emotions. Like if there is anger, I see it in me and I see it in them at the same time. Like
Right.
so connected.
Yeah, it's like your mirrors,
Yeah,
right? Yeah, because the kids don't, the kids are in the moment and they're experiencing as it comes and then just leaving it, whatever it is, right? Like young kids, they could be crying 1 minute and laughing the next, just be and forget about the whole crying thing. But as you get older, it's like, well, hold on to those crying moments,
yeah,
and well, the mind will start to activate, and you know, that's the difference between emotions and feelings, right? Emotion is that raw moment of, whoa, here it comes, right? And it's sometimes uncontrollable too. But the feeling is the mind's interpretation of what that was, right? So and you can get lost in some of those stories because it'll make all these different connections, right? Oh, this person was to blame for that, and I felt this because of you, and right, this doesn't feel good, and I don't want to do that, and it's right when we can just like be like a kid and just be in it and then just leave it, right? Because emotions flow. It's like
yeah,
the science tells us that emotions come in for 30 seconds and then they flow in and they flow out, right? As long as we don't hold on to them, then in 30 seconds it's over,
yeah,
right? So whatever it is. So I like to do breathing, right? Like deep breathing practices. Whenever a big emotion will come in, it's just time to take 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out. While it's going on, whatever it is, it could be anger, it could be anxiety or fear. And then you do that 3 times. So that's 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out. You just do 3 breaths and the emotion is dissipates. It's very simple, right?
yeah, yeah. I used to do it like focusing on the heart,
Right.
and so useful when there was the lockdown and when I was going out with a mask on because it was really something that stressed me already just having a mask on.
Right.
Plus, going in an environment where everybody is like this, I was really like breathing into my heart all the time, and it
Right.
worked. Like I was feeling better.
Right. Yeah, it's actually acknowledging that this is happening and being with it, right? Being fully present, not wanting to change it or not facing it and then it becomes some big monster, right? Uh, yeah, I find doing the ABCs is yeah, I have an ABC process. It's really easy for any of those, um, emotional moments. And the first thing is awareness, right? It's the A. And just knowing that something's different and something's here. It's like, okay, I'm aware. Then the B is for breathe, right? So you can do some breathing. And then the C is for choice. So
Nice.
instead of having this stimulus come in and then know, um, no space between that and a reaction, you're putting space between it. So you've got um, the stimulus and then you've got a response, right? So that's different than a reaction, right? Because then we can choose, what do I want right now? Like, how can I best communicate from this? You know, what is it wanting me to say? How can I say that in a healthy way? Right? Instead of, if it's anger, I just go raw and say, no, no, don't do that. Right? Because then you give the anger, you pass it to someone else, right? You wanna just breathe through it and then figure out how you can release it in a healthy way.
Yeah, it was interesting last week because I had this anger coming out and I didn't know where it was from.
Right.
I and I and I was with my kids, so I was like, okay, what I'm going to do? I'm getting angry. I told them, and then I started to destroy a box of cereal.
Right. Right.
But actually, that's better than something else because it's just a
Right.
cardboard box.
Right. Yeah, I was talking to monks back in the day, and I was asking them about anger. Well, what do you do? Because you feel anger, right? And he's like, yeah. He's like, well, I'm going to release it in a healthy way. So he would go, when he's feeling it, he doesn't hand it to anyone else because it's contagious, right? You can hand these emotions to other people, these emotional states. He said he would walk off until no one was around and by a tree or whatever, and he'd just scream. And I'm like, yeah, that's right. Because
Good.
you don't hold it in like you stifle a sneeze or right. You get all tense. No, you have to allow it to flow through you. So yeah, he would go somewhere peaceful, serene, and just just let it go. I'm like, sweet. That's a great solution. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And for me, after I destroyed the cereal box,
The
just
box.
yeah, just the day after that, my son was feeling hungry, and I was like, okay, um, okay, what can we do? And there was another box there, and I said, I do what you want with this box.
Right? Exactly.
And I was feeling a little bit bad for what I did the day before, but then I thought, okay, that was exactly what I want, what I
Right.
needed to be
Right.
in this place now, that to say to him, this is a healthy way for you to do, instead
Right.
of, he was frustrated with his homework, so he was kind of starting to write, um, doodle or not doodle, write badly on top of his work, kind of ruining his homework. So, but
Right.
instead of saying that, ruin this box that we are just throwing it away.
Right.
And I was feeling better, and I learned that I have to wait for him to be in a calm state. That he can't really do his homework if he's angry. Like
Correct.
he has
Right.
to change his
Yeah.
thing.
And also some exercise and some movement is
Mm,
really good for kids and
yeah,
even into the adult years as well. Like you get into like hitting a bag, right? If there's like a big workout bag and you get some gloves and you can just have at it, you know, or even running around the block or riding your bike, just something to move the body, move the energy,
yeah.
right? And then using up whatever that, yeah, that rapid energy in the body to, get back to a relaxing state.
Yeah, and actually, yeah, I see that my kids do that naturally. Like they start to play football in the living room or things like
Right,
that, or they run around.
right,
Yeah, they do have to move sometimes.
right. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, they have it more natural than adults. Adults, in a sense, they have to go back there in some way with a
right,
routine or something.
right. Yeah, we get programmed to sit pretty early, right? It starts with school, and then, yeah, in the States especially, we were driving from, you'd be sitting the entire day. because you go from home sitting to in the car, and then you're in the office and you're sitting all day, and then you work so late that there's no time to make food, so you're driving to the drive-through to get some food to bring that home. And so you're still in the car, or you're still sitting, and then you're at home and you're sitting on the couch. And it's like, what? This is not, we weren't born like sitting, right? We're born like standing up, right? So yeah, we're born to be moving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I love that. Sometimes I bring my son to school by car, but some often we walk, and it's always better because like we can talk a little bit more, and
Right.
yeah,
Yeah, what's nice about living here in the Netherlands is that a lot of people ride bikes, and even in the winter because there's no snow. It's cold and it's windy, but people are still on bikes. So you'll see the 80, 90-year-old lady on her bicycle with the two bags, saddle bags on the back of the bike with flowers and groceries, and she's just pedaling along. And I'm like, you're 90, look at you, right? Good for you,
yeah, that's
right?
good. And it's like people are more, they look more healthy, no?
Right.
In general,
Yeah.
people
Yeah,
around.
people are thin and healthy, and they still like their fries and some of the fried foods and that, but
Yeah,
then they're going to hop on a bike. So, the blood is still really flowing versus the delivery food places and sitting on the couch and the Netflix or
yeah. When I visited Amsterdam, we rented a bike, so we went around with a bike. It's good. And
Yeah, that's one of the best ways to see the city. That and from the boat.
yeah, and we were in an hotel. There was a boat. We were sleeping inside a boat. It was
Oh,
cool.
nice. A houseboat.
Yeah,
Nice.
that's very nice. Well, it was a little bit small, but it was very nice to sleep inside a boat.
Right.
And I love it. In the north of Italy, it's like that as well. It's very flat, so there's lots of people going on bicycles. Especially in some cities like Ferrara, maybe Ravenna, Bologna. Um, and and a thing I noticed when I visited Venice, I remember there was a old woman with one of those trolleys to put the grocery, the shopping inside.
Right.
And if you see in Venice, it's all you just walk everywhere, and there's lots of these bridges with steps.
Right. Right.
And she was going on top of the bridge like one step at a time like this. And I said, "Do you want some help?" And she said, "No, no, no, this is my workout today."
Right.
So that's the great thing, like for the elderly living in Venice, is that the Venice you have to walk everywhere unless you have a boat, your own boat, or you
Right.
take the transports.
Right.
But then you have
And
to
there's
walk
lots of the
everywhere.
bridges too, as well.
Yeah,
Right. The walking bridges, they're connecting everything. So,
yeah, you
yeah,
can
it
walk
could be a
everywhere,
workout.
and it's kind of painful. Like if you work all day, it's yeah, you have to have comfortable shoes, and
Right.
uh,
Right.
I love it.
Yeah, yeah, Venice is beautiful. You definitely save your feet at the end and take a boat back to wherever, right? So I usually go out and run around as much as I can, and then I'll want to take a boat back, right? So I can see it from the two different perspectives, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, from the boat is wonderful. Once I took the fast boat that is like a taxi as well. So I took the one that is like a bus.
Right, yeah.
It's
Il
wonderful because
vaporetto,
yeah, there's no traghetto and taxi.
right?
There's no cars. There are all different types of boats. There's the firefighters boats. There's the police boats.
Right?
The Amazon boats, like with all the parcels.
Oh, for real. Wow.
Yeah, they're all boats. And yeah, there's just a little
Amazon
part of
boat.
it that is like just where you enter. And even the train station, you arrive at the train station and then you exit, and there's a canal. So it's,
Right. Yeah, lots of traffic right there.
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah, Amsterdam has some similarities as well with the canals, yet the boats are mainly only there for like some scenic riding during the summer. Otherwise, it's quite it's quite empty, you know.
there's people living on the boats, no? They live on the boats on the
Yeah.
canals. So,
Yeah, right. Yeah.
and in London as well, there's maybe just one canal or two, but it kind of looks a little bit like Amsterdam. There's people living in the boats there.
Right,
They're like
really.
barges, and
Wow.
yeah, the some parts of London they are very nice. They look like villages, and you explore London, and there's lots of diversity of
Nice.
really like the types of buildings, and it's not very high buildings neither. Uh, Part of in the center, there's all those like, very modern ones, very tall,
Right.
kind of skyscrapers. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, traveling is amazing. It's one of the top things that I enjoy doing, right? It's really like the some of the best education there is on the planet is just go walk around, right? See how far you can get away from home, right? See if you can walk around the whole thing.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I would like to. Yeah, that's the thing I would like to do with my kids. Travel around with my kids. I did it. I took them to Venice,
nice.
and I took them to Sardinia. Yeah, two places in Italy. Yeah, we went to Lego House in Denmark. We we did like our Legos quite a lot.
Yeah, my son is now 18. Yet that was one of the funnest times of my whole life. You know, besides being a kid and like having lots of fun, it's like being the parent and going through that kid's journey again with uh, yeah, with your child, right? And playing, just full on, just playing, right? Because they're 100%, right?
Yeah,
they're just, oh man, I'm just here and playing with these two dudes, and I'm like, ooh, cool, sweet, and I'll just be hanging out with them, you know, or we'll be building something, playing with trains, or riding bikes, or same with the Legos, and those Legos that goes into the older, that can even go into the teen years as well because they
yeah,
get so complex. Yeah. Yeah, we were getting those really big sets at the end. I think it was like 14. We're getting the Star Destroyer, the big Star Wars. It's like 4,000 pieces or something. Yeah. Yeah, those are good fun.
yeah. I think for them at the moment it's not a Lego moment anymore. Actually, they are into football cards. So they are doing like with they have a book. They put all the cards inside.
Right?
Yeah, and they are collaborating as well. They are making the same one. I
Right.
like it a lot because they are putting together the pocket money, so they can have more cards to put together. That's like
Right?
clever.
Yeah, yeah, that's smart.
Yeah, and actually, we wanted to talk about collaboration.
Yes. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's that the new way of being with each other, right? Or it's not new, it's just it's a really great way that we can all come together, right? And the kids know that when they were young. It's just we're remembering it, right? Because there's a lot of competition. And that's how I really grew up, right? We were in competition with everything around us, like at all times. And so, yeah, I think that could be one of the big reasons why I'm over here as well, because, um, yeah, there's more tolerance here in the Netherlands. It's the culture is really based on that. It's like you get to do what you want to do, and I get to do what I want to do. As long as we're not hurting ourselves or other people, have fun, enjoy, right? It's like, there you go. And so, yeah, we're all circling all the way back, right? Because we started as the designer and then into the kids author and then the coach. And now this next stage, well, I'm being asked, or let's say called to really be working with groups. I've worked a ton one-on-one with people, and I've found that a lot of people have the answers or like a piece of the puzzle for someone else. And so all I have to do is really bring them together, right? And then that's more of, let's say, a peer coaching environment, which is really nowadays, it's called a community. Right? We're all supporting and collaborating and cooperating and co-creating and supporting each other to grow.
Yeah.
So, so yeah, I'm really excited about this new community that I am going to be launching in January. Right now it's the 23rd of January, and it's called the Diamonds.Community. And it's for entrepreneurs in the UK and EU who are heart-led, growth-focused entrepreneurs, right? And it's a community that utilizes the power of peer coaching to access the group mind, right? It's like this beautiful space where you can increase your focus and clarity and productivity and be inspired and support others in a loving environment where you can get closer to both reaching your goals and be around people that love and support you, right? So you're having fun throughout the process with like-minded people and like-hearted people as well. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that one. That's at Diamonds.Community.
Yeah, looking forward to that. And yeah, and then communities, like we do need community, but in some in the environments we are in, sometimes we don't have a community. Like for example, with our name, like we don't know our neighbors, or and sometimes maybe we move from a small place to a bigger place because we want that thing. We want individuality. We want to do our own thing, but then we are isolated at the same time.
Right.
And so like going back to a community and doing things together with other people, and then like as you say, like if entrepreneurs come together and work, and maybe they put their skills together, different skills, and they do something better.
Right. Yeah, learning from each other so that we can grow faster, really accelerate and gain momentum in our own fields. And also, there's a bit of accountability as well, that you can have an accountability partner if you want. So you can check in with them every week. And then there's a really deep relationship that's built. So you're holding space for each other and really going through it with the other person. And there's yeah, you can really be real with each other. It's like, hey, well, why didn't you do that? You said you were going to do it. Why didn't you do it? So, so yeah, there's a lot of pluses out there. And when it comes to community and coming together, and we see all the opposite that's out in the world that's really breaking things apart and dividing things. And we see that system's not working. So the a really great solution is for us simply to come together as one
Yeah,
with love.
a community and collaboration. Yeah, as seen with the children as well.
Right? Yeah. Yeah, like the eyes of a child. Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of what brought us together as well, right? We met on a um, like a networking group, and here we are, right? We had a conversation and just put our hearts out there and said, okay, you're doing this, I'm doing this. Well, that could be fun. Let's talk about it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Let's have a conversation. Let's put out our solutions for other people to see.
Right? Yeah, and that's the funny part. Like each stage that I've, let's say, moved through in my career, there's been solutions along the way, like lessons along the way to just continue that evolution. And as long as we see life as one big evolutionary process where we're always moving towards that vision of who we want to be, then we can be okay with who we are in the moment.
Yeah,
And that really, makes it light again so we can be like kids and have fun.
yeah, yeah. We need some of that because, well, that's what we see in the world. That we see a lot of not fun,
Right.
lots
Yeah,
of
a lot of fighting.
anger, yeah, fighting, and yeah, that's what we have to take out of our system sometimes, so we don't do the same things like our parents did, or
Right.
we have to. Um, and actually, it was one of the quotes for I thought about for the solution finders. Like one of the things was Mother Teresa when she was asked if she wanted to go to a walk about a walk against war, she would say no, and she would go to a walk for peace. Like
Correct.
she wouldn't fight the war, and actually the focus is on war. She will go
Right.
on something that focuses on peace.
Right.
So to really changing our focus, sometimes I could go into that.
Yeah, that is one of the big principles that we can really hold very close to ourselves in this life. It's like um, I want to focus my energy on the things that I'm building, not fighting with the things that I don't want to see in the world, the things that are collapsing, right? Because then I'm just adding more energy to it. And I don't want to do that. I want to focus on what I'm building. So, yeah, I believe that that idea comes from Mother Teresa.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it's really like for me, I understood that when I understood like the feeling that it's behind. Like for me, I was in anxiety most of the time, but when I started meditation and other practices, I started to feel, and with my children as well, seeing their joy in them, I starting to feel it as well. I said, oh, okay, this feels better than that one. Uh, so I want to continue to go towards this one and stop going towards that one. And and a lot of things are really programmed into us, and we really have to be start to be aware of it. Like we are not aware of it at the beginning, and when we start to be aware, we can change it because sometimes we are stuck into wanting into a program that keeps us in a situation that is not good for us. But that's maybe from the family, from the education, from
right.
the programming. But we unprogram.
Yeah, we have to deprogram,
Yeah.
right? And reprogram,
Yes.
right? Rewire our brains, right?
Uh,
Give us more of what we want. Yeah, that goes back to the ABC, right? It's that awareness is always
yeah.
first, right? Ooh, what's this? Right? If like how you said, like I discovered a pattern. Whoa, right? And now I get to choose. Once you have the awareness, you get to choose, well, do I want this?
Yeah.
Or I really ask, is it serving me? Or how is it serving me? So that I can really see it for what it is. So, okay, is this hurting or helping? Is this serving me well or not serving me well at all? And then you can go ahead and unplug things and plug new ideas and concepts in, right? So that you always are optimizing how you perform out in the world and how you feel and see yourself on the inside.
Yeah, it needs lots of awareness and really, yeah, and go to see those, finding those things we don't like. We don't like to keep those behaviors, those thoughts and feelings, and then be change them.
Right? Really question, right? Like if you hear a negative thought, like the first thing is to ask it, like, is it true? Is that true? It's like usually if you dig back, well, 100% of the time, if it's something negative, you'll dig it back to the root of where that's from, and there's a lie in there, right? It's not true. And
Yeah,
so that's what happens when you really look at all of these negative aspects, is that there's something in there that someone told us, usually before we're eight,
yeah,
right? And it becomes like something that we just believe is true, when actually it was someone else's idea of how they either saw themselves or saw us, but it's not really our true identity, right? Because we believe everything is true before we're eight, is we're just sponges and we
yeah,
just take it all in as true. And so, during that awakening process, it's like, okay, we're being shown a lot of these programs and ideas of ourselves that were meant to go back into that programming before we were eight and just rewire, change, right? It's like get into the blueprint or the motherboard of your mind. Say, okay, switch things on and off. And yeah, I recently had a how do you call it? A session with a healer, right? And she does multidimensional work. And I hadn't worked with her before. I know her very well because we've worked on her company, her branding, strategy branding, and launched her company, right? Yet I hadn't experienced the work, right? And so we got on a session and she, it was wild because I've done tons of meditation, but she took me to a place that I knew about, but I didn't know I had to clear anything there. I just thought it was like a fact that was part of my family upbringing, but I didn't ever think that I could clear it
yeah.
or that I had to. I mean, we pretty much went into in utero,
Wow.
right? And like before I was born, she was clearing things out of there, and I'm going like, whoa, well, I knew that was there, but I didn't know I had to clear it. She's like, nope, it's gone. Let's go. So, right, it's just like freeing. Uh, yeah, there are so many more dimensions to life than, and it's important that we go digging, right? Because the world is going to ask us to stay on top of everything, right? So here's all the news and all the crazy and right, here's the notifications and all that stuff. But we're not meant to stay on top of everything. We're meant to get to the bottom of things, right? There's a big difference, right? So we've got to really focus.
Yeah. Yeah, and that reminds me of some things I cleared for me, and it was amazing. It was this, but practically I had this grief for a long time from when my mom died, and then I found out about this book, Where Did You Go by Christina Rasmussen, that really kind of have some kind of meditations inside the book to go and find your loved ones who passed away, and um, and actually she did an interview, and in the interview she did a little bit of guided meditation, and I see my mom in that
Wow.
thing. So I said, okay, I'm going to buy the book.
Right?
Yeah,
That
and
was
then
for
I
you.
started. Yeah, I started to do it these meditations every day, and I like all my perception changed, because at the beginning I thought, okay, she's gone forever. That's it. There's nothing after we die. But like I seeing her older than when she died in these visions. Uh, I seen episodes like I entered into some kind of photos we had from when I was small, and it was like I was living that situation. It was wonderful. I was really feeling like the love of my mom, and she told me stuff like it's like I'm sure like the spirit is still around now. I had so much proof
Right.
that I really. So yeah, actually that changed my perception, like where anybody dies. I'm like, yeah,
Right.
okay. It's just a transition.
Right.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And the science really backs that up as well. Now, I do want to point out just one thing before we continue, that that work that I had done, right? The in utero work, that was with Ines Della Valle,
Okay.
right? She's Italian and she is living in Egypt right now. Yeah. And she has a website called Your Multidimensional Self, right? Or yeah, it's Meet Your Multidimensional Self. So that's yeah, myms.me, right? Enos is amazing. She's absolutely amazing. Yeah, so I just wanted to mention that one. Yet, what hmm, what were we talking about just then? Oh, mom and
Mhm.
meditation.
Yeah.
I wanted to say something.
But another thing that came to mind, and that's from Christina Rasmussen podcast. It was a scientist who looked into what happens after we die, or what happens when we die. They really did like scientific study, and
Right,
one of the things is that lots of people, when they are on the last few hours or days when they are dying, they have visions. They have like visions of what happens after, or things like that. And actually, I seen that with my grandmother when she died. She was in a lot of pain, and then suddenly she wasn't in pain anymore, and she was just looking in front of her, and she seen three people, and we were sure, like she nodded three times, and we were sure of who that was. It was her three daughters who were coming
wow,
to take her. Um,
wow,
and that was so beautiful for us to kind of have that piece of her going and being taken care of.
right,
And the pain was gone. She wasn't in pain anymore. And it
wow.
was amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, there's yeah, in the Western culture, we're not really educated on how to deal with death. Very different than the Eastern cultures because they embrace it as a time of transition, right? Versus in the West, we try and hide it and at the same time hide from it, right? So we put the old people in a building and right in a home all together and we don't go over there, right? Versus how it was, let's say, a couple hundred years ago, and there's multi-generational families living in the same house and we're learning from the elders,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, and yeah, so it's very important to do the work around the fear of death, right? And because as a child, it can be really quite scary, right? When you come across, it's like, oh man, right? I'm mortal, my mortality. And we don't understand it, and people don't know how to deal with it. Lots of mourning, lots of crying, and it's like, what? So they're gone forever? It's like, no, no. Uh, from yeah, there's both the science that's now coming out of the quantum physics that's saying consciousness is not local, it's non-local, right? So our consciousness of who we are doesn't exist in the body. It's non-local. It's everywhere, right? Even the air has consciousness, right? Because it's the consciousness of air, right? And so, yeah, we kind of resonate around here, but our field is really, really big. It's not, oh, it's in our brain. No, it's all around us, right? But as they were doing studies, like with cells and taking the full physical cell away from the consciousness, it was still there, right? Right? And yeah, from the Eastern research that I've done, they talk about that, the consciousness is forever, and it's it's our bodies that are born into this world, and then it's our bodies that return, right? Right? The bodies are born and the bodies die, but our consciousness is outside of time, right? So these are vessels, like they're cars or trains, right? We ride them for this life, and then it's a rental that we just give back.
Yes.
We're here to learn through the body.
Yeah, and then
So,
we decide all the things, decide where to we are born,
right.
family we have, and the kind of experiences we want to have.
Yeah, that's the soul group experience, the soul family. Right.
Fun ride.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we can imagine there's like five, six souls. It's just all with a piece of paper, and they're like, "Ooh, that's a good one. I'll be dad, you be mom, your sister, brother, and we'll just have all these stories, right?" And
Yeah,
this is all the learning that we do, and then you've got to get that approved, right, by the soul committee. And if it's a good enough story and there's enough, evolution, then cool. Then you guys can hop in and hop in some bodies. There you go. Boom, boom. We all drop in at those different times and do that story, right? It's also a good way to really take radical responsibility for oneself as well, right? Because it can get you out of that victim mentality of blaming others for your circumstances or for these things in your life. And you can say, no, no, no. Like, I wanted this for myself. Somewhere up there, I wrote this story. So, what am I meant to be learning right now?
yeah,
Right? What's the lesson? And then I can choose on how I move forward. Right? I become responsible for everything and all of it. Like absolutely everything. That's radical responsibility.
yeah. And I read about something like that. Like this, there was a book called Your Soul Plan that talks about that,
Right.
and it really shows. It has some nice titles in the chapters about all the big things that could happen in one's life, like uh, loss, mental health issues, violence, etc., etc.
Right.
And so yeah, it says that the big things, the big events in our life are probably what we planned before to be born.
Right. Right. Yeah, they're like these moments of great turning or um yeah, big monumental moments that make up our lives. Right? Those big choices that we look back on and say, oh, that's the one if I'd have done it different.
Yeah,
Right.
to be in a different life.
Right. Yeah, and the quantum physics tells us that choice actually happened. The other choice that we didn't make, right? So there's all these parallel lives running from the different choices that we're making, right? Because everything's possible, everything's happening all at once,
Yeah.
right? So I can actually be okay with those choices that I have made in the past because there's a Brian out there that's actually living out that other life, and I don't need to have any heavy feelings about this choice or that choice anymore, right? I can let go. And that's the science telling us that. I'm like, sweet, okay, well, then I can be that child again, right? I can be light and joyful because, yeah, it's all for my benefit. Like everything is for my benefit.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, life is funny. Life is funny.
Yeah.
It's good to smile and laugh and enjoy all of it. I
Yeah.
think that's that's one of my big lessons that I'm holding as true in every moment. I'm here to enjoy it all.
Ah,
And so that's like a signature I put on the end of every email and on every post. I'm just like enjoy or enjoy it all. Right? Just
yeah. Nice.
right. Even the hard things,
Yeah.
especially the hard things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the place. That's a good goal to have. A good place to be. A good
Yeah,
place to want to be.
that's the reminder, right? That's the soul's reminder. Say, right, it's all for your benefit. Just enjoy it. Be grateful for all of it. Yeah, and when we get to that place where we can be grateful for all of it, then we're just going to see more in our lives to be grateful for, right? It's like this never-ending upward spiral, right? Of
Yeah.
just there's more things in my life to be grateful for. Well, then fantastic. But then the same is true going down as well. It's like I hate this and I hate that. Well, then you're just going to see more that you hate because you're
Yeah. That's
right. Like
it.
Mother Teresa, you're putting your energy there,
The hate.
right?
Yeah. And it reminds me of this image I had. That is the image I was thinking about when I was starting meditating, and I wanted to go in a feeling of love, of
Right.
joy. I was thinking about my sons when I'm like when they would get a little bit upset when they were small. I would just pick them up, and it was more like 1, 2 years old, and turn them around, and they would just go like ah.
Right.
Joy straight away, like change from upset to joyful straight away. So
Mhm.
actually, that face, that big smile when he's kind of flying around, that was my image to for joy, uh,
Right.
and yeah, and that's where I could go back to. I could go back to feeling that as well.
Right.
Actually,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That the kids are really great reminders. Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah, I think that is where eventually that's like the next stage of my evolution as well. I've, right, because I'm at the coaching stage and now going to be moving into that community lead stage, but that is with adults that are moving through it, right? This entrepreneurial journey. And the one after that that I see is then specifically working with kids and teaching them how to breathe and uh, move and sleep well and eat well and all those different aspects of being and so they can really have amazing lives and not have to deal with excess stress and anxiety and right all those they don't need medication, they just need to know the tools to regulate themselves emotionally, physically, mentally, and build themselves up. So yeah, the things that we weren't taught in school, all
yeah,
those things.
yeah, and that's like it that would be a change in education and a change in the food industry as well. Like for example, a thing that came to mind straight away is when you go to the supermarket, there's written kids confectionery, something like that, and uh, and there's a aisle full of chocolates and crisps. Um, so that's not that they call it kids food, but it's not supposed to be like it shouldn't be. Um, we are like in a sense I am both into that in the sense that I allow them to have that kind of food. I marinate sometimes as well, but saying that that's the food for the kids and allowing that in schools as well and as normal. And I see that some people wants to change that and they changed it, but yeah, it needs a little bit more change as well.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. There's big business behind
Yeah.
kids' foods and the big sugar is behind a lot of it. And you know, the regulations and relationships and government and how much money, right? It's more about that selfishness of I can get rich versus caring for the consumers. And especially those are the ones that we're meant to care for the most. Like as a man, we are meant to protect both women and children. Like, and the people that can't defend themselves, like that is a man's job, right? So that the women and children can be relaxed in society. That's the point, right? That's the point. And yeah, it it doesn't always mean something physical, right? I need to protect, right? Because someone's fighting. No, it's the food that's going into the kids. We have to make sure it's only the best for them. So protect them from yeah, sugar and super processed food.
Yeah.
I think there's an acronym that's called CRAP, right? And it's we're not supposed to eat crap, right? So it's oh, I hope I remember. It's carbonated drinks, right? Or is that carbohydrates? Yeah. Or no, it's carbonated drinks and then refined sugars. Yeah, A is something and then P is something. I'll have to
Okay, so there's all the
yeah, super processed food. And then yeah, I'll have to dig that one up. Maybe
yeah,
I can find
that's for another episode.
it. Right.
An
All about
episode about
food,
food.
right?
Yeah, there's lots to say. Yeah, you need the food with the joy, like with the together in a
Yeah, that's the natural foods.
yeah.
Yeah, I went through a big health kick when my son was younger. I think he was 7, 8 years old. And so I was doing the explore books, right? Teaching the kids about the world. And then him and I got into health foods. And so him and I created a book series called the Happy Book Series. So we had the first book was the Happy Fruit book, right? And so that was A to Z of all the different fruits that are good and healthy for your body. And so he was drawing the letters, right? And then he was a co-illustrator. And then I was drawing the different fruits in conversation, right? Around these small little haikus, like Dr. Seuss rhymes about, you know, A is for avocado and, or, yeah, and B is for berries and C is for cantaloupe or whatever, cherries or whatever it was. And then the second book was the Happy Veggie book, right? And so that was the second one. So we put out both of those, and I think he was 8. And like they went into his elementary library. Like he brought them in and they go, oh my goodness, put it in the library. And so that was really wild for his, like a child's mind to be like, what is possible?
Yeah,
Right. And then, of course, we were starting off with really good education around these natural foods. Like if it comes out of the ground, eat it. Right? If it grows on a tree, like eat it. Like the
yeah,
earth is feeds us. It's all like the less processing, the better.
yeah. Thank you very much. That was a great conversation.
Yeah, yeah, we sure did go into a lot of stuff, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Lots of different
fantastic.
topics.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. It was definitely a pleasure, Una.
Thank you. Brian is starting his Diamonds community this week on the 23rd of January. So if you're interested, if you're curious about the Diamonds community, the link is below in the description. So you can go on the link Diamonds.Community to find out more. And his other links are below as well as mine. And there are links to the topics we talked about as well. In my website, you can find a new free document you can download. It's called Beliefs That Support Us for the Life We Want. And it's a list of 6 limiting beliefs that we can transform in supporting beliefs. And then an example is something that happened just this week. And this is my son, who is 8, who was saying, I'm so unlucky because he will lose when he was playing video games with his brother. So I facilitated a psyche balance with him when we installed the new supporting beliefs, I am lucky. And the same evening, just a few hours after this, he came to me all happy and he said, I won 3 matches today in the video game. So actually, children are a very good example on how balancing with psyche and changing the subconscious beliefs can really, we can really see results very quickly. And that was really heartwarming for me to see him happy and feeling lucky. So you can download the free document from my website. The link is below. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you like this content, please subscribe, comment, like, and I see you next time.